Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Friends on Friends.
Friends on Friends.
The movie review podcast where we watch every movie starring a friend from Friends. I'm one of your friends, Jacob DeNoble.
I'm your friend, Danielle Lohan.
And we are here to talk to you today about Picture Perfect, featuring Jen Aniston.
So cute.
It's a good one.
It's sweet. It's fine. It's not great as a rom-com, but I thought Jen was sweet in it.
Yeah, it's a return to form from some stinkeroos we've had in a row.
Yeah, it's exactly, it's fine. It's fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can I give you a synopsis?
Yeah,
or do you want to tell me a little bit about Picture Perfect?
No. Give me the bird's eye view.
Okay, so we have an marketing executive, Jen, who is a character named Kate, and Kate is a young marketing executive who wants more, and she wants more out of mostly her career. But she kind of learns that unless she has the idyllic personal life, the people, really the men who are running her company are not going to believe that she is willing to stick around and become that the super powered marketing professional that she desperately wants to be. So she uses a Polaroid photo that was, just taken of her and some guy at a wedding as proof that she is engaged, and concocts this entire story about her, thriving personal life. But then eventually she has to get the guy involved, and then shenanigans happen.
Yeah, that's a great summary. Let's mention the men in the movie.
Do we have to?
As the man, we have to talk about the men. It's really important
Why
for us.
won't we ever talk about the men in Jennifer Aniston's movies? That's all we're talking about ever.
So we have Jennifer Aniston, and she is juggling relationships, or there are two main male characters in the film. We have Kevin Bacon as Sam Mayfair, and Jay Mohr as Nick, who doesn't get a last name, which is interesting.
Yeah, that is funny, especially since she's supposed to be marrying him.
So Jay Mohr is our cute romantic lead, and
he's from Scrubs. I definitely recognize him as kind of like a pretty boy doctor, but he apparently, Jacob tells me, often plays kind of a dick.
Yeah, he's much more of a sleazy character.
And I truly don't really remember him from Scrubs, so I apologize I didn't do more research, but maybe that just means he was so forgettable in Scrubs. I feel like he had like a 2-episode arc. Yeah. I could see that.
He was an SNL cast member for a while. He had a short-lived show on Fox where he played a high-powered movie executive, and you got a lot of movie in jokes.
That's what people want, is Hollywood inside baseball.
I kind of enjoy that kind
Babylon
of thing.
did so well. Burn.
We also have Olympia Dukakis as Jennifer Aniston's mother, who is a semi-frequent appearance in the film. She plays kind of an overbearing mother.
Which is so funny because the film wants me to feel like she's overbearing, but her complaint is that she wants to meet her daughter's fiance when he visits in town, and that seems like an extremely reasonable complaint.
She has many other moments. She just shows up in Jen's apartment at one point because Jen hadn't called her.
Yeah, I get. But if you're going to give your overbearing mother a thing, either she did. Okay, so the vibe I get from her mother is not that she's like, when are you going to get married and have kids? Mm-hmm. The vibe is just I'm way too involved in your life.
Yes.
And when I'm watching this, at some point, Jen's going to try to fake this relationship. Why doesn't she just tell her mother, hey, Mom, this is not a real relationship? Because there's no reason that her mom needs to believe that it's real.
I had wondered that myself.
Okay.
I didn't know why her mom was involved in the lie.
Yeah.
We also have Ilena Douglas as the quirky best friend, which is just interesting quirky best friend casting.
Can I also say a quirky best friend is typically at the hero's level or lower, and in this case, quirky best friend is a level above.
That's very interesting.
In the career-wise at Jen's firm. Which I just thought was interesting. It's almost, I wanted it to be a mentorship, but it was a quirky mentor, but they really felt like equals. Just Jen happened to be a step lower on the ladder.
Yeah. This movie, I think, makes a lot of interesting and good small tweaks to rom-com formula.
Yeah.
That I honestly would like to see other movies that are more romantic pick up. But we'll get into that as we go along. Do you want to dive into the plot? Do you want?
Yeah, let's do it. There's actually one more person I wanted to make sure we talk about. So we also have a brief appearance, and I think he's way underutilized, from Kevin Dunn, who is Ben on Veep, who we previously saw in, oh, joy, I don't even remember what other movie it was. What was he in?
It was not The Commandments. Or was it? What did we just watch?
We did. It was The Commandments, because he played the guy's boss, who's like,
oh yes,
you're fired.
He fires him
because he has a hardened heart.
Yeah, he's good in that.
He was good in that, but I feel like I like him, but I feel like he was miscast in this. I didn't get any of his like kind of weirdly acerbic but not mean humor.
Yeah, he didn't get a chance to be funny.
Yeah,
because he's playing her boss.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he plays it, I think, well. Like I think he hits what he's given.
Sure. All right. Do you want to get into it?
Yeah. So we open with Jen making out with a guy.
Shoes on the couch. Guy is wearing shoes on the couch. Not okay.
Apparently, the guy is Greg Grunberg, who is in all of J.J. Abrams' films. He plays Date, uncredited.
Which is so funny because I think he does have lines.
Yeah, he's just... I don't want to say I couldn't follow the opening, but the opening just like throws you in so much. I thought we were at his apartment, and it was like making fun of the fact that they have a clapper because she claps and the lights come on, but it's more just that he's, I guess, bad at making out.
Oh no, he doesn't want to wear a condom.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah,
I missed. That's totally normal, right? Like, I was rooting for him at that point, and I was like, why is she kicking him out? Because he's so good at writing.
Oh my god, yeah. So she's making out with this guy. Again, shoes on the couch. He's wearing shoes on the couch. And he says that he doesn't like condoms, and that's when I don't know if he murmurs it or something, but that's when she claps and she's like, you gotta go. And he's like, I can wear one. It's just not gonna be as good for you. Do you not remember?
I missed all. I was probably, so the opening credits are rolling over that. And so we have one of the writers is Arlene Sorkin, who I know as the voice of and inspiration for Harley Quinn. She had played like a clown in something, and the animators were like, she's great. Let's write this clown into the cartoon and then into the comics, and is now a big movie.
That's so
character. But she wrote this movie too.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, our first exposure to Kate is that she wants a guy to wear a condom, which I think is okay.
I will say throughout this movie, and again, this is not always something you get with rom-coms, I fully understand and support almost all of Kate's decisions.
I would agree.
She acts very rationally. She acts very reasonably.
Except in talking to her bosses, she is honest with, the important person who is the guy. She's not like leading him on. She ultimately says to him, I want you to do this so that we can break up and I can continue my career. Like, this is a big favor. And we'll get there, but like, she's not concealing anything from the person who it would hurt the most. Yes.
And that was one of the tweaks to the rom-com formula that I really liked and really respected, because so many of these are on like a 3-act structure. Introduce your characters, have them have a secret and meet, they fall in love, and then the secret comes out, and even though they both don't feel, they're both not acting on it anymore, they are mad at each other for like 20 boring minutes of screen time.
Yep.
And then they come back together. This movie, I think, is broken up into, I would say, almost like 5 acts, which is what I'm always in support of. I always think movies need 5 acts.
How Shakespearean of
That's
you.
exactly what I'm always saying. But, and we could, maybe after we finish, we'll break it down. But like, the lie is, again, to her boss for a reason. The man is not involved in it. And then the conflicts that they have are very just reasonable conflicts. They're not plot based, like when they are not getting together, it's not because the machinations of the plot are forcing them apart. It's because of, I don't feel that way, you feel that. Okay, we're not together right now. And I loved that. I really respected that.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten out of the first shot of the movie.
I know. I'm sorry. Okay, so I want to also throw in, throughout this entire movie, I think Jen is dressed very well. She's beautiful. Like, as a person, her outfits are super cool. I do not think that they align necessarily with what her character is saying that she wants. So we have a contrast in dressing between best friend Darcy and Jen, Kate. And Darcy, the boss, her friend, is dressed in these like very 90s power suits, collars, shoulder pads, like vaguely 80s, but like
with some quirky colors.
With some quirky colors. She has like a hot pink. She's got necklaces. Her hair is big, but she looks professional within having a style. Jen is constantly dressed very quirky, but not very quirky professional. She's wearing like a low cut shirt. She's wearing, and I'm not shaming her for this, but like, again, we're in a business environment where she wants to be a marketing manager, director person. She wants that window office, right? So she's not dressing for that. And that is a comment that is made by one of the characters later on. Dress for the job you want. Jen's character doesn't take that anywhere, which I was a little bit disappointed about because, you know, she's, again, her clothes are so cute. At one point, she's wearing these adorable little glasses and her hair's all braided. And it's like, you are so cool, but your costumes and your clothing is not telling me that you are like gung-ho to become marketing manager Kate.
Yeah. She always kind of looks like she's coming in or going out of a Guess ad.
Yes.
Like when we're introduced to her, she has a backwards baseball cap, which returns later, and she has those cool sunglasses. It's just a excellent Guess ad outfit.
Yes.
I wrote down, I was like, how many women do you think left this movie trying to pull off backwards baseball caps?
Oh my God, at least me. I'm like debating how I can do it now. Is it too late?
You would look great like that, babe.
Oh my God, thank you.
You should do it.
Okay.
I'll lend you a hat.
I have hats.
You know, we both wrote down about her fashion because her introduction of going to work, she just looks so cool.
So cool.
So she goes into the office and we are introduced to Kevin Bacon, who is an older man at the office. Unclear what his job is.
Eye candy for someone, not me.
Dandy is a very anti-Kevin Bacon
So I look at
figure.
him here and I'm like, I don't see the attraction. I'm not here to rag on Kevin Bacon, except for a little bit that I am. I mean, I'm looking at him and like, his face is not doing it for me. His hair is so weird. It looks like an outline of the helmet that he wears in X-Men First Class, like where it's like really round and then it like goes down and like kind of poofs up at the bottom of his neck a little bit. But like, oh my God, it's.
I 100% had that haircut at 17.
Well.
But I was 17.
Yeah, you're 17. This guy is supposed to be like, I don't know. He's probably, if Jen's character is like, let's say 28, I'm pretty sure she said 28. They say, yeah. And then this character is probably like 38, 40. And I don't think this is either an attractive look for a, guy in the 90s. But again, I have a bias, right? Yeah. But like, I don't know. I'm just not into Kevin Bacon.
I like his outfits. He has very kind of baggy, cool suits on the whole time. But yeah, the whole idea is that Jen is like really wants to sizzle that bacon, and he
oh my God, I just heard that. What the heck, Jacob?
And he tells her, he's like, I'm sorry, I don't sleep with good girls. And she's like, I'm not that good. And he's like, yeah, you are. And so that's something that will carry through as the movie goes on. And then we're introduced to her, essentially her ambitions, which is that she wants to have the advertising campaign. She wants the Super Bowl commercial, the billboard in Times Square, the 10-page spread in Vanity Fair, she says. That's what she's aiming for. And she's currently selling mustard with what sounds like a pretty decent campaign.
Yeah, Golden's is a real brand, isn't it?
Is it?
I mean, I think they spell it Guldens. I don't know if that makes a huge difference, but I feel like I've seen that, like the red cap mustard, and it's like kind of brownish with the dots, and I don't know.
I feel like that's just what mustard containers look like. Those yellow bottles.
Oh, the mustard in them? Yeah. The red label, yeah.
Her slogan is, Goldman's is number 2, and that ain't bad.
Yeah.
Which she like builds the commercial around Cindy Crawford being like number 2 at her school.
Yeah.
It sounds like a fine campaign.
I don't have any expertise in ads to understand if this is like how things work.
I was thinking about this and how in rom-coms women are always working at advertising agencies.
Or magazines, Jacob.
Or magazines. But like, I think part of it is that screenwriters have a very weird job. And they can only conceive of jobs where you have to come up with a great idea and pitch it in a big room in front of your boss and like some outside agencies in order to get the job. And that's the only thing they can think of that people do at work. So that's what they write.
That is so funny that you say that. I mean, I can totally see that. Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
Because like, in this world, like, what is Jen doing on a day-to-day? She's not doing ad spends. She's not like, she's just sitting thinking, okay, how do I sell mustard?
Yeah.
I would have loved if somebody, if like had mentioned Grey Poupon as like
a joke.
Well, just like, I want a mustard ad that's going to do for mustard what Grey Poupon did for like.
What did Grey Poupon do for mustard?
Well, do you know the...
I don't think
Excuse
I do.
me, do you have the Grey Poupon?
No.
It's like probably on the top 5 commercials of all time.
Okay, let's do top 5 commercials. All right, Hershey's Kisses doing the Jingle Bells or the Carol of the Bells.
Mainly through longevity, I think. Where's the beef?
Obviously. Oh, the Folgers with the brother-sister weirdness.
Okay, you can't just pick ones that are like famous because they're so weird.
We didn't say good commercials. We just said top 5. That is in my top 5 of commercials.
The Grey Poupon commercial is like somebody like a limousine like rolls down their window and they're like, "Excuse me, do you have the Grey Poupon?" And it was like a thing that people quoted for like 15 years.
Oh, well, frickin' they made fun of Obama for asking for Grey Poupon when he got, I don't even know what he got. He was somewhere wearing a normal amount of clothing, probably. Like, I'm just thinking of like them making fun of his tan suit. Mm-hmm. Just like any existence that this man did was, you know.
I would have liked if Kevin Bacon had like been they were like, did you know Kevin Bacon landed the Grey Poupon?
Oh my God, that
back in like
so
the 80s?
Good. Yes, give him a whatever it's called, a brain.
Yeah. It's just, other than Grey Poupon, I don't know if I've ever seen a mustard commercial.
That's a really good question / point. Yeah, I guess you really don't need to advertise mustard. One, there's not a lot of competitors. Like, I feel like you like yellow mustard, Dijon, or like whole grain mustard.
Yeah, but different brand, like companies.
Are there that
make
many?
Them. It's probably 2.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, you really don't need to. Like, you go into a grocery store and, like, it's right next to the ketchup. There's, like, 1 brand of ketchup that's acceptable.
What is this, Cuba?
Maybe. All right. So, Jen is mad that she essentially, someone else gets credit for an ad campaign idea that she came up with.
Yeah, everyone on her team gets promoted except for her.
Yeah.
And she's mad because she's like, this was my idea. Mm-hmm. And everybody who worked on it is getting promoted except for me.
And I will go through this a little bit more as the story goes on. But Jen is never presented as like she's, I don't want to say too much of a career woman, but like in that stereotype of like she's too focused on her career that she just doesn't have time for love. I don't get the vibe that that's what the movie's telling us.
Yeah.
But I also don't get the vibe that like, you know, she's how am I trying to phrase this? I don't get the vibe that the movie is wanting us to think that her ambition is a bad thing.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's having, women screenwriters helped that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Because even at no point in the movie are they like, you have to choose love over your job, or, you're going to miss the ball game because you've been working too hard.
To be kind of like, some kind of way about it, she is in a much more competitive and like highfalutin field compared to her love interest. Mm-hmm. Her love interest has a passionate, a career he's passionate about, but he is not, trying to climb the corporate ladder. He's not doing the same thing she is, and he's also not a secret billionaire, which I think is kind of a nice, again, twist on the rom-com formula that you're talking about.
He's respected because of his like, not lack of ambition, but his contentment, and like he has passion for his work.
Yeah. And
so why climb a ladder to leave what you're passionate about?
Yeah.
Because like the next step would be
production company or overseeing other people. Yeah.
So just very interesting.
Yeah.
So Jen says that she's going to a wedding this weekend, and on the phone with her mom is complaining about, I'm just reading some lines I like now. Her mom's complaining about how she needs to meet a man. She's like, maybe you'll meet a man at this wedding. And she's like, I'm too damn healthy. I bet there's an OBGYN just waiting for me to walk through his doors. I thought that was cute.
Yeah.
Her mom is also her hairdresser. Jen's like, at one point, tells her mom, she's like, I'm actually considering having my eggs frozen. And her mom's like, oh, great. I can tell people I'm having a grand sickle.
I liked that line. I thought that was good.
Are you ready to go to the wedding?
Let's go to the wedding.
Yes. So we're having an Indian wedding at an Elks Lodge in, I'm guessing, upstate New York somewhere. Or
I don't know.
She gets to and from wherever this is quickly enough.
Yeah.
And the New York Post is reporting on it later. So
are they? Oh, I missed that.
Well, they're reporting on his celebrity.
Oh. Well, she's definitely in Manhattan. I just don't know. Well, I know
she's in Manhattan. I think I'm saying Nick is. I think this wedding is not far from New York City.
But she, despite wanting to meet someone at this Indian wedding, well, at this wedding in general, she is sat at a table with two nuns and two lesbians.
Yeah.
And like an older single woman who possibly a widow. But the nuns and the lesbians really sell the she's not going to meet someone at this table.
And there's a good, I think, a well-observed comedy bit that wouldn't happen nowadays where they're doing a Polaroid. Well, I guess they do that now. Oh my God, it's Polaroids.
Yeah.
We're maybe like 10 years out from Polaroids being big at wedding. I think that was more like a 2016 thing, if you had to put a gun to my head. I feel like
people do disposable cameras as like supplement, but they still do pay photographers.
But the bride during the reception is like, this is a Polaroid wedding. You'll find a Polaroid camera at each of your tables. Take your photos. And as she's talking, 800 flashbulbs go off on her.
It's very funny.
It's just again, I feel like that's the kind of joke you write when you're at a wedding and you see that happen and you're like, that's too good.
Yeah.
Just all these wasted photos.
Yep.
And we are introduced then to our love interest, Jay Mohr, who is playing the wedding videographer.
Yep. He's doing his little wedding thing and he's videotaping people dancing. The wedding, I made a comment about this because I was like, this is absurd. The music playing as they're dancing is Run Around Sue. Mm-hmm. The song. And the whole point of this song is keep away from that girl. She's going to give you the runaround and break your heart. That's not what you either, I think, want to hear at a wedding. And even in the kind of meta context of the movie, that's not giving our love interests any one, it doesn't pertain to their story, even a modicum. That's not a foreshadowing bit, but it's also not I don't know, it doesn't give them anything cute at all. I don't know. It's just an odd choice, I think. I love the song, but it's not good for a wedding.
Jen goes outside to just relax because she's having a bad time. And Jay Mohr comes out the door and he's like, hey, are you the single friend Kate?
It's really funny.
It was a good line. And she has to record a recorded videotaped message to the bride and groom, and Jen nails it in one like a pro, and he's like, wow, you've done this before. And she's like, yeah. There's not sparks here though. No. They're just two regular people having a regular interaction. I think Jay Mohr is like, wow, this is a beautiful lady, and she's single.
Yeah,
but he doesn't flirt really. He's
at work.
He's at work.
He's a professional.
Yeah. And then he's like, and this is thing I wanted to ask you about. He's like, oh, I have to go inside and videotape the bunny hop. I feel like the bunny hop doesn't come up anymore.
I know it as kind of a silly thing, but I didn't think anyone ever did it. I've never heard of anyone doing it, seeing anyone ever do it.
I mean, I remember it from the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a roller skating rink.
Oh my God, are you sure this is the 90s?
They would play that, and you would have to hop on your roller skates.
Ouch.
I would always beef it. Every single time.
I believe you.
Yeah.
Ouch. Yeah.
But just a vivid memory of being in second grade and doing the bunny hop. And the bunny hop is a runner in the movie, so I'm just like, was the bunny hop bigger in the 90s? And has the bunny hop just gone away? Or, I don't know. Was that a thing that was done at weddings?
Yeah. I
tell us, listeners, if you're old enough to have been at a wedding with the bunny hop, let me know, because he acts like it's at every wedding.
I don't know. Maybe, I was going to say maybe it's cultural, but then I was thinking, well, this is a wedding that's still taking place in Manhattan, and I'm not super aware as like a 5-year-old in 1997, 6, whatever this is. But I'm aware enough.
Yeah, you would remember. I remember being 7 and doing the bunny hop.
I wouldn't even know what to do. If you told me do the bunny hop or what is the bunny hop song, I would not know what to do. I mean, do you hop like a bunny? That's the whole thing?
Well, it's ba-da-na-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na-na-na, bump, bump, bump. And during the bump, 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 you're all in like a line. It's almost like a conga, and then you all hop, hop, hop. And then it's like ba-na-na-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na.
I really don't realize this at all.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay. Well, thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, of course.
Well, they go back inside because the best part of every wedding is about to happen, where the groom is going to take the garter off of the bride in front of everyone, including her parents. Ugh.
It's a bad tradition.
It's so weird.
I'm glad it's dying.
Oh my God. I have never seen
Let's bring back the bunny hop. Kill the garter toss.
So who catches the garter but videographer guy? His name is Nick. I don't know if we find that out, but Nick catches it. And Kate, poor Kate, is the only single woman who is eligible to catch the bouquet. She's like standing next to someone else who's like pregnant and married.
Yeah,
like,
that was a good joke.
It was pretty funny.
Well, all of the single women come out onto the floor and she walks out and she's alone.
It's cute. And she's a good sport about it. She's just like, okay, give me the bouquet. And she just takes the bouquet.
Yeah.
So she and Nick take a picture. And it's a cute picture. Like she's sitting on his lap and like they're smiling. Like it looks like a very intimate, happy photo, even though they really don't know each other at all. But she gets a copy of this photo because Polaroids. And that's the end of the wedding.
Yeah. And so she goes back to work and she finds out why she didn't get promoted the way that everyone else did. She has a meeting with her boss and her boss is super explicit about it in a way that is probably problematic.
Oh, definitely. 100%.
He is essentially anti people who have he likes people who have debt because he's like, I look at you and you have a house and children, and I look at you and you have an expensive car. And he's like, I know that you are going to stay working for me because otherwise they're going to take your house, they're going to take your car. And he points at Jen. He's like, you live like you're still in college. You're free as a bird. How do I know if I send you my biggest client, you're not going to take another job and take that client with you? And so Jen's friend, essentially having seen this Polaroid, devises the idea to say, oh, Jen is actually in a very serious relationship. She's engaged and she's saving up for a wedding. And that's another interesting thing. Jen is not a party to the lie being formed.
Yeah, it's Darcy's whole thing.
Which is, again, it's a nice touch. She's not completely back. Like, it's somebody's decision. Like, it's not like a complete comedy of errors. Like, oh, they saw and just assumed. Like, I like that somebody made the choice, but it wasn't Jen.
Yeah. But she does go along with it because she's like, I want my goal, which is the Vogue spread, the Super Bowl commercial, whatever. Yeah,
and there's, no one gets hurt with this. Like, her sexist boss gets lied to.
Yeah, great day.
Yeah, who cares?
So Jen, basically the next day or whenever is the next bit of the scene, comes into work not knowing that this lie has been told. And people are extremely nice to her and very happy for her, including one Kevin Bacon.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's going to come up again in a minute. Yeah, everyone is super happy for her. And she's kind of taking this all in. She's finding out what's happening. And she is going to the product launch for the mustard tonight.
Yes, because she is given the promotion.
Yeah, well,
this alone has gotten her.
Yes.
Which, again, just seems weird. Like, they're like, oh, we gave out 8 promotions yesterday. You weren't part of it. Okay, Monday morning. All right, you know what? You actually get a promotion.
Because now we know that you're settled.
I don't feel like that's how HR works.
Oh, no, definitely not.
Yeah, she is now the directive of creative affairs for the Mustard account.
And she's got a beautiful windowy office and nice new furniture, and she's very thrilled. But the party for Mustard, got to talk about her dress.
I wrote, and maybe just because we just watched this episode for the next season of Friends, It is as revealing as the negligee dress from Friends.
I was thinking that, yes. It's this spaghetti strap, extremely low, kind of like sweetheart E, but like also lingerie E neckline that like holds her boobs and then is extremely tight, and then it ends like, I don't know, upper third of her thighs. And she stands out to a viewer in this environment, but no one else seems to comment on the fact that she is not wearing like a work event appropriate outfit. And also no one else is even remotely dressed like she is, even if they also think that it's appropriate in some way.
Yeah. And it is interesting because like we're introduced to characters who are introduced to us as like active sexists, like the people who work for the mustard company tell a sexist joke in a minute. But it's not, the world of this movie is saying this is normal, which I think is part of, and this is something that we haven't really talked to about this movie yet. This is what I would think of as Jen Aniston's first I'm a star role movie. Like, this is a movie that is sold, like the poster is a big picture of Jen's face. And I think part of that is her costuming is going to be Jennifer Aniston focused costuming, not Kate costuming.
Correct.
It's how do we make Jen look as good as we can make Jen look, because this is a movie that people are going to see because of Jen. This is a Jen movie, which I mean is true. We watched it 30 years later
because of Jen, naturally,
Jen was in it. But just an interesting thought.
It is a very interesting thought, and I think that this is another one of those moments where I was noticing about just like her costuming in general, and what you say makes a ton of sense. But her costuming for this, it doesn't show me that she is internalizing the I have changed. You are right, boss. I was living like a college student. I was not taking it seriously. I was being more myself, and now I am someone else. And there should be like a distinction and I think that should come through in her fashion choices. And it just doesn't, which it's a choice, but it should come through in her fashion that like, I'm taking myself very seriously now. I am a director of creative affairs or whatever else it needs to be. And we just get Jen looking super beautiful and extremely attractive. It very much reminded me of the, in Friends, I forget which season it is. Maybe it's 7. It's the yellow dress that she wears. You might not remember it, but it's the yellow dress that she wears when she is like out on a date. And I think that like Monica is like trying to make her decisions for her. I forget what the storyline is. I feel very embarrassed for forgetting. But this yellow dress that's like silk, it's a strapless dress, and it has like a bit of like colorful flowers on it. It's iconic. And the costume designer said that she got the most letters / calls about that dress on Jen. This is that dress, except in green and slightly different. It is stunning.
Yeah.
I have a lot to say. This is me watching the commentary for a bazillion years, but never remembering which season is which.
I love getting these Friends insights. Yeah. On Friends.
Friends on Friends.
So she meets with the mustard guys. Can we talk about their sexist pitch?
Of course.
Because it's
so dumb. You do it.
It's a dumb joke, but like it's a funny moment in the movie because it's acknowledging that he's dumb. So the mustard guy is like, I've got a great idea for an ad campaign. And Jen's like, okay, yeah, let's hear it. He's like, all right, there's a bottle of mustard. Behind it, a nude woman. And he's like, maybe she's not nude, but maybe the mustard is covering. He's like, you can figure it out. He just keeps going. And he goes, and in big letters on the top, it says, spread this. He's like, I can picture it in dorm rooms on bumper stickers. And Jen is trying to sell that like, oh, that's a great idea, man who I'm responsible for making feel good about his job. So she responds, I hear something like that and I have a physical reaction. And how often can you say that?
But her face is so not, she's like grimacing, but like trying to play it. It's a very fun thing to watch her listen to this and react to it.
Yeah. And she, at this party, she meets up with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon asks her to go out and they go have dinner. And then they have sex because he thinks that she's engaged. And he's got a little power play about, I don't want to say homewrecker, because I don't know if that's necessarily it, but it's just like there's a safety.
He likes when women
are
taken, because that means there's no commitment.
Yep.
Yeah. We see Kevin Bacon's naked butt.
Ew.
Bacon, he loves to be naked in movies.
Does he?
He does.
Wow.
He's just naked in a lot of movies. So I just noted and appreciated. I'm always rooting for more male nudity in movies.
Sure.
And, I like that the only nudity we get in this movie is Kevin Bacon. Certainly don't want to see Jay Mohr's butt.
I do not want that either.
This is solely interesting to me, but I'm going to say it and maybe cut it out. Who knows? This is 2 movies in a row for us, starring people who starred in Paul Verhoeven movies, because Gene Triplehorn was in Basic Instinct, and now Kevin Bacon is the star of Hollow Man.
I see.
In which he also appears naked.
What a connection.
Yeah.
Do you think Paul Verhoeven should have directed an episode of Friends?
Yeah, he would have loved it.
Really?
He's always complaining that he didn't get to do rom-coms.
That's fine.
The director of this movie just did Moonlighting, which was his big the TV show with Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there. Just a fun fact.
Well, Kevin, so Jen is like kind of excited and thrilled that she slept with Kevin Bacon. Sam, his name is Sam. I forget. I think it's Sam.
Yeah.
All right. So she's excited. Kate's excited that she has had sex with Sam. And she's like getting her, new office all together and everything like that. And Sam stops by and he is like, well, it's never going to happen again. And he feels bad because he's like coming between her and her fiance. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, so her mom.
Yeah, she goes home and her mom has broken into her apartment because she's been calling her all day and she hasn't responded. And she has a bunch of good lines in this scene.
My favorite one is her mom saying that she's worried that her daughter has ended up in a ditch or something. And Kate says, there are no goddamn ditches in New York.
That's very good.
Which is very funny.
My favorite line is the closer of the scene where she's like, how old are you? And Jen's like, I'm 28. And she goes, well, I'm 54. I'm going to be dead soon. And then Jen storms off and she yells, where are you going? And Jen yells, to kill myself. Which I thought was just a very funny joke. I wrote, finally, a funny rom-com. Well, we've had a lot of rom-coms, but none have actually been that funny until now.
I would agree. And Jen is doing fun things with the reads of a lot of these lines. And there's a lot that I think are funny that we just haven't said. We did genuinely laugh at a lot of these lines as much as, you can laugh at this isn't a great movie. I wouldn't necessarily recommend people watch it. It's one of the better ones we've watched.
Yeah.
But I did have a lot of moments where I'm actively enjoying.
Yeah.
So we get a quick scene of Jen sunbathing on her rooftop with Darcy. And she has decided that she's going to keep up the facade of the fiance to get Kevin to like her. And this is just a little, to me, reminiscent of Bridget Jones's Diary. And I know Bridget Jones, I think, comes after this by 4 or 5 years. But in Bridget Jones, she's not faking that she has a relationship, but she is she's having this secret relationship with her boss in the hope that he truly sees her for who she is and decides that he's going to fall in love with her later.
And this is reminiscent of Bridget Jones.
Yeah. Just a hair, because I know the timing is not it's Bridget Jones inspired. Yeah. But it just is it's a line from a rom-com that I'm glad that Bridget Jones took and moved more with.
Yes. And so, yeah, like you said, she's sunbathing on the New York rooftop, and we get a crane shot, on the roof that's showing that, they're on a real New York roof. They get a lot of production value out of this moment. I was really taken by this moment.
Oh.
I love being on New York rooftops in movies, because I've never been on a New York rooftop. Have you?
I mean, I want to say probably, but the biggest rooftop in my memory is I went one time over 4th of July. I was on the roof of the Maryland Science Center watching the fireworks in the Inner Harbor. That was super cool.
Yeah.
Also been on the roof of the Bromo Seltzer Tower in Baltimore.
I've been on roofs, just not New York City roofs.
Okay, fair. You know what? Now that I'm thinking of it, no, I've been a lot of other cool places in Manhattan, but not. I don't think I've been on a New York roof technically.
Yeah,
I mean maybe a bar, but like not like.
Yeah, well, it's just and again with the crane shot like really lifting above them, you just it's a very beautiful shot, and it's shot in New York, and so much is not shot in New York, especially this kind of rom-com. It's just so expensive that they don't do it, and I miss it. I miss that production value you get out of. But that crane shot then transitions into our montage of Jen doing well at work to Donna Summer's Bad Girl, which I think was all over the place at this era.
Yep.
It's in The Replacements. I don't know if you've heard it other places, but...
Excuse me. So at this point, I started to think, so this montage also includes her trying to seduce Sam and Sam falling for it and then trying to seduce her. So they're they're in this like push-pull relationship. And I know that there is no fiance. Like, I know that. I know that this is a lie. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, Kate is just way too comfortable cheating on her fake fiance.
Is that wrong?
No, it's completely fine. Again, there's no person here to harm. Like, this isn't a problem. But like, I think that she, at this point in the movie at least, she's not really clocking that like, she is like Sam is making a cheater out of her. He doesn't know that it's not true, but he's seducing her. He is becoming voluntarily the quote other man and making her into someone that, she wouldn't want to be if this were like real, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Like even if she had a person, I don't know. It's not my favorite like thing to think, because I still, again, I know that this is fake. I know I know there's no fiance, right? But I watch this and I'm like, I don't know. Okay.
Well, you know what's funny? And I wonder if there could have been a version of this. Maybe Bridget Jones is the version of this movie that does this, where the movie starts and I know the overall broad strokes of what the premise is. I know that she is going to pretend to be married to Jay Mohr, and she is attracted to Kevin Bacon. So in the first 5-10 minutes of the movie, I genuinely don't know who she's ending up with. Because I'm like, oh, is this fake relationship actually going to draw her to Kevin Bacon? But then as soon as you show that Kevin Bacon is like a total sleaze and Jay Mohr is like a saint, you're like, oh, okay, no, never mind. I think Bridget Jones does that push-pull a little better, where you're like, maybe she is, I think there are people who root for her to this day to end up with Hugh Grant.
Yeah. Yeah. She has flaws. Bridget Jones has flaws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote down, this feels like a story that could have happened to Rachel. I feel like Rachel could get caught in a lie like this in order to seduce a man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Sam is just making some stupid speech.
Yeah, he has a big monologue that she sleeps through. And I read, he's such a sleaze.
Yeah,
he's
he
like,
is.
Even though you're engaged, when you're with me, you're really with me. And he's like, so like into...
He's got a fetish.
Yeah.
But they wake up to a TV story of her fake fiance rescuing a child from a burning building. It's so great.
It's really good. So Jay Mohr is shooting a wedding. The building catches fire. He gets out of the building and then runs back in to save a 6-year-old girl and jumps backwards out of the window. And they go, why did you jump backwards? And he goes, well, I thought I could protect her body with my own. It's just a really good, this is a fun twist. I did not expect this.
Yeah.
I thought like they were just going to insist on meeting him, but she's now backed into the escalation of this lie. I think it's a really, and this is where I'm talking about like 5 acts, And we have first act introducing everybody. Then we have an act break of her meeting Jay and the lie starting. And that's like second act. And then this is like the Shakespearean climax, which comes halfway through the third act, where it's like, okay, there's no turning. Well, I guess maybe the decision to actually have Jay Mohr come up would be that climax, that decision that then.
So we're starting the third act right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's well structured. I love breaking down movie structure. That's like my favorite thing about movies.
No, so cute. Ow.
You should hear me talk about The Matrix one day. You can pause it every 30 minutes. I know you don't care, but...
Well, Kate calls Nick and is like, please meet me for coffee.
Yes, because her boss has said, we want to meet your famous fiance.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be today, but the next time he's in town, we're meeting him.
So he walks into a coffee shop in Manhattan and people applaud as he walks in. It's so funny.
Yeah.
I liked that a lot.
It was really fun. And she offers to pay him $1,000 to come have dinner with her boss.
Yeah, she tells him the truth. She's going to pay him. She'll buy him a plane ticket, and because he has broken his wrist falling. So she's like, look, you're not working right now because he can't like hold the camera with his like broken wrist. So she's like, just take a few days, come here. It's on me. And at the end of this quote vacation, we'll fake a breakup and then you can go back to living your life.
Yeah.
And I have my life and you have yours.
Yeah.
And it's a very, I don't want to say appealing proposal, but it's like she is very upfront. There is no game here that, requires him to be in the dark.
Yeah. And she chuckles and goes, this really sounds like something out of the Patty Duke Show, huh? Which is a 50s sitcom. But
Patty Duke is Mac Aston's mother.
Yes.
Yes.
That line Ebert was really taken by. He was like, it was proof that the writers of the movie are smarter than the movie itself. He's like, they know that this is a formula. But Jay Mohr turns down the money but decides to come anyway.
Yeah, well, he asks, you want to pay me to have dinner with you? He says he'll do it for free.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's just so interesting to see him as a wholesome guy. It's just such an odd.
So what do you know him from?
I probably mostly know him from SNL. He did a lot of just 2000s comedy. He's on Family Guy briefly. He's in Small Soldiers, which I love.
Okay. Yeah.
But he shows up at her office.
Yep.
Unexpectedly.
So weird.
And they kiss immediately, and she whispers in his ear, grab my ass and pull me into the office. And he goes, yes, sir. Which I liked. This was a nice wholesome energy.
Back at her apartment later, she's like showing him around, and she's like, this is where you're going to sleep. And it's her love seat. It's really small. He's not like a small man.
Yeah.
But she has made him essentially a study guide of like everything about her, which I think is extremely funny because he's only going to be around for like a dinner and there's no need for him to like know her coffee order. He's not like taking her and her bosses out for breakfast.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just like I understand why they're doing it in the mechanics of the movie, but in the logic of the movie, I don't think it quite flows.
See, I don't know. Like if the waiter comes by and like maybe she's at the bathroom. Because I think the implication is like, Jen uses her work materials to build this profile. So it's like, this is an instance where we're seeing Jen as this upward climbing, like, when I create an advertising deck, I think through everything. I propose everything. Yeah. Here is a binder that I've made with everything that you could possibly need to know.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
And Jay Mohr's like, don't you need to know anything about me? And she's like, you're fake. You're whatever I need you to be.
Yeah. So she has written the script for their eventual breakup, and she's basically making him memorize it. And she is asking, her goal with the breakup is to reaffirm her commitment to the firm. Yeah. And she says, basically, I need our breakup to reaffirm my commitment to the firm. Yep. it's a funny line.
That a lot. Yeah, because the fight is going to be about how she works too much and cares too much about her job and not enough about him. It's good. And then she gets a call from Kevin Bacon, who's like, and we don't hear this phone call, but he's like, can you come out and meet me? And she's like, I can meet you for a couple hours. And she tells Jay Mohr, all right, I'm going out for a business meeting. I'll be back in an hour. And turns out Kevin Bacon is fully drunk and just like, oh, I can't believe you're getting married, blah, blah, blah. And then Jay Mohr shows up because she had been gone for so long. I guess she said where she was going. I don't remember that.
I don't remember that. But Nick basically escorts her home, and they're like, they're pretending they're playing it. I don't want to say straight because it's not necessarily playing it straight, but they're like they're doing the bit in front of Sam, and they get back to the apartment and they're like getting ready for bed, and somehow they bring up her dad who died.
It was such an odd moment because it doesn't come it felt like just that was their way of like trying to enrichen her character or explain why her dad isn't there.
And I think they're just trying to build that like, oh, they have an emotional connection, not just like a proximity. They do this thing that's just such like a small critique, but I hate when movies do this where they talk from different rooms far away at a normal volume. And you're like, there's no way you guys could hear each other when she's in the bedroom and he's in the living room based on like the geography of this apartment. And again, it's such a teeny thing, but I'm like, okay.
Just to go back to the drunk Kevin Bacon scene for 1 second, this is another moment that I think a worse movie would have used that for a cheap moment of drama. Like Jay Mohr gets jealous and mad about it, or Kevin Bacon like reveals like, or he accidentally reveals something and Kevin Bacon now knows that it's fake and he's like going to threaten to, there's just so many avenues that I think they could have gone down for cheap drama, but chose not to. Yeah. And I respect that because again, that's not what you're here for. You're here for this kind of movie.
Yeah. There's an amount of fun that you can have in like predicting what's going to happen next. As in like, I go into most rom-coms pretty safely saying like, I know who's going to end up together, right? Like, but the how is the interesting bit. And like, if you go too much into either tropes or formula, you need to have a little bit of originality. And this, I think, brings a lot of originality compared to other rom-coms, especially of the era and definitely of, 10 years later. Yeah.
So then we get the dinner. So they're at the dinner, and her boss and just wants to know more about him. And they're like, all right, so, she had been telling people that he tapes music videos. And so somebody asked them like, oh, it's all just like scantily clad women. And he's like, no, actually, I videotape weddings, which surprising that they don't push more on. Like she has been telling them that he does music videos. And then he's like instantly like, no, I actually do weddings. Yeah. And they're like, okay, well, how'd you get into that? And his first joke is like, I was looking for a job that required as few days work as possible. A cute line. But then he gets like this big speech about how he gets to be there for the most special moments in people's lives and how they ask him to come shoot bar mitzvahs and baseball games. And
baby showers.
Yeah, you get the, the idea that this is, a passion for this man, which is, it's nice. It's reminiscent of what I liked about being at the newspaper.
No.
You get to you tap into people's lives. You get to do something special for them that like, I'm probably in a bunch of fridges and scrapbooks.
Oh.
And like, that's nice,
Yeah.
An old lady sent me a card because I put her chihuahua in the paper. And like, that old lady probably kept that.
Yeah. So they do one thing after he has this like, sweet little like speech about his passion in life. They dance in the restaurant, and I feel like this was such a thing in 90s movies is like, one, live music at a restaurant, but two, dancing, like slow dancing in a restaurant to the live music. I have not seen dancing in a restaurant in years.
Yeah, that's a very, I've never seen anyone do it.
I can like maybe think of like once, but it's like, that could be just a, fever dream memory.
Yeah.
Of being like out with my family or something like that.
Yeah. I think this dance though highlights what I consider to be the central problem with this movie, and maybe the only real problem with this movie in my eyes, which is that Jen and Jay Mohr don't have chemistry.
They do not, no.
They each have solo chemistry. I think they are both charming on their own. I think they sell their jokes well. I think they sell their characters well. I like when either of them are on the screen, and I don't mind when they're on the screen together, but there is no spark between them at any point. And
they're not like, I'm supposed to believe that there's a little bit developing. I don't even see that. Because I mostly, and maybe this sounds a little bit more of a critique of Jen's acting, which I don't know if I mean it that way, but I see more that Kate is trying to get this over with. And maybe I see that there's like, quote, longing on Nick's side, but I don't see that any of that is like reciprocated at all.
Yeah. I mean, she gets the like reaction shot to when he's talking about his job.
Sure.
That is supposed to be like, oh, she sees who this guy is, who she didn't. And, maybe that could have been an avenue to reflect more of, like, she also looked down on his job because he's not a climber the way that she's a climber. Like, that's something they could have done. And then like, as she realizes his passion for it is like, oh, okay, I saw you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't really have that. It's more just like, oh, that was a nice speech you gave. And I think movie chemistry is just so, it's ineffable. Like you can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's an amazing that it works ever.
So I want to bring this also around to the moment in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, where Andy is meeting, I forget his name. It might also be Nick. Who knows? Andy is meeting Matthew McConaughey's family, right? Mm-hmm. And she's kind of like making fun of like, oh, you family, you like me because I'm the only one who like plays cards right. And the only girl who he brought home who plays cards right. And his mom is like, oh, you're the only one he's ever brought home. And that's like the moment where she realizes like, oh, this guy who I think of as a playboy is actually really vulnerable and protective of his family. He has this like essentially love and passion for his family that kind of mirrored in this guy's love and passion for his actual career, right? And the Andy reaction shot is, I think, a little bit more, it shows us a little more of like her changing feelings toward him, whereas the vibe I get from Jen's reaction shot is, you feel the same way about your career that I feel about my career. And I don't see those two. I think that's where Picture Perfect is essentially weaker, is that she, like, her reaction is not for him. It's for his life.
Yeah. I think that's totally fair. Yeah. Can I read you the names that they screen tested for the role of Nick?
Sure.
Just to see if there's anybody we like better here.
I will give you my reactions.
Okay. Matthew Broderick.
Oh, I'm sorry. When you said names, I thought you legit like, they didn't know if they were going to call this character Nick.
Yeah, no, they considered calling him Matthew Broderick, and then somebody's like, that's an actor.
Oh my God. Okay. I don't think I'm like that crazy for that. Okay.
No. So Matthew Broderick.
All right.
John Corbett, who I think would have nailed it. William Baldwin.
I don't know.
Wouldn't have been good. Jon Stewart, who I don't think could have sold the earnestness that this character is written with. But I like the idea of Jon Stewart and Jen Aniston together.
You know, can I just Google Jon Stewart in 1996?
Yeah, look up Jon Stewart in Big Daddy.
Oh.
Because that's, I think, the like almost exact moment that this was getting made.
Oh.
I assume that means that you are a fan.
I mean, his hair is huge. He definitely is better with the hair.
Very funny reaction.
No, I agree. I think it would have been very different to have videography be a wise ass, because Jon Stewart just has, again, just a lot of facial muscles that I think like he both can control to, like give you a little bit more of like his internal opinion on the scene. Like Nick is just such like a flat character. And I think maybe that's for me at least, Nick he's a bit of like a cloud, right? Like he's just kind of there. He's floating around. He's like, oh, this girl wants to kind of fake date me. All right. Like,
you tend not to like just like pure wholesome guys in movies.
Yeah. Cause I just feel like they don't have any personality.
I think that is a personality.
Wholesome in itself, like, you can be nice, but also like, is your only passion your work? Because we aren't really given a whole lot of opportunity to learn a whole lot about Nick.
I mean, he saved a 6-year-old girl from a burning building.
I know, but somehow that's funny.
So Jay Mohr claims that he had a very bad time working on this movie and that Jen did not want him there. Jen apparently had been gunning for her boyfriend Tate Donovan to have this role. And this is some quotes from him. He goes, "Being on the set of a movie where the leading woman was unhappy with my presence and made it clear from day one." He later said that Aniston would point at him on the first day of rehearsal and scream, "6 guys they screen test, 6, and the one fucking guy I hate, that's the guy they hire."
Oh my God.
He alleges she returned to the soundstage after using the restroom and then immediately continued haranguing him by yelling, "6!"
Oh my God. I don't know how to feel about that.
I mean, Jay Mohr, I also don't know if I fully trust his reads on things.
Okay.
Like maybe there was a reason Jen didn't like him.
I don't know.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like I don't not believe that she's like, I had 5 great screen tests and you hired the guy I don't have chemistry with.
Yeah, especially when this is her movie.
Yeah.
You know, like she's in season 3. Like Ross and Rachel is a phenomenon. And I can see where she's like, shouldn't I have more quote agency?
Yeah. Like, shouldn't I be able to pick my co-star?
Yeah.
Even. Cause I mean, he's been off of Saturday Night Live for 2 years.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have a movie. He has one movie before this.
What do you think? Why do you think him then? Why was he cast?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
He played Jeff Foxworthy's brother on the Jeff Foxworthy show.
Oh.
Yeah, just a real nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know how he got in this movie. Again, I personally I enjoyed seeing him in it. But
yeah.
Okay.
All right. So they've danced, and now it's time for the choreographed fight. So Jen keeps trying to start this fight, and she keeps throwing out like outlandish things that work is making her do. She has to like, she's going to have to like miss Valentine's Day or something like that because she's got to work on this campaign.
Yep.
And he's like, that's okay. Work comes first. She's like, I'm going to miss your parents' 35th wedding anniversary because, party because of, this other thing for work. And he's like, well, I'm sure they'll understand.
Yeah.
And she just keeps trying to push it. And for whatever reason, he's just not letting it happen.
Because he wants to keep dating.
Well, sure. Yeah. But like,
and then Jen, and I love this, like, I love seeing characters who are quick on their feet. So rarely in movies do we get to watch characters be smart. Jen goes to the maitre d' and asks for a phone call. And she pretends that it's Jay Mohr's ex-girlfriend calling. And she hands the phone to him and is like, I thought she was out of your life. And Jay realizes that the game is up. He has to go through with the breakup now. And then he sells the breakup.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, I have a mistress. He's really playing it over the top.
But then he's like, Jen, also, Kate, you have a mistress too. Yeah. It's called Mercer Advertising. And just all about how, that's what's breaking them up is they're cheating, quote, quote, on each other.
And the boss's wives both have things to say to him, one of which is, you may be a hero, but you're no gentleman. And then one of the other one is, it's one thing to cheat after a few years of marriage, but while you're still single. And then my favorite bit, this is, I think, just a gag that made me laugh. So they all storm out of the restaurant, and then the waiter hands Nick the bill, which I thought was very funny.
Yeah, so she says thank you to him, and
they split, and she goes to be with Kevin Bacon, who they start making out. And then she's like, Nick's gone. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm not interested
He's
anymore.
like, I hope you didn't do this for me.
Yeah.
And he tells her to think it through.
I liked most of the dialogue in this movie.
Yeah.
I thought this one line was pretty clunky. She goes to Kevin Bacon as he's like leaving. She's like, you're always going to be the guy at the restaurant who wishes he got what the guy next to him got. And I'm just like, that was clunky. You guys could have taken that back to the shed, rewrite that one.
Yeah, you want what you can't have. You don't need to, dress it up.
As he's getting dressed, he accidentally elbows her in the eye.
And it looks like she's been punched.
Yeah, it looks like she's been punched. I will say, one of the best movie black eyes I think I've ever seen.
I would agree. Yeah,
because it's really well done. The makeup is good.
It's like red and puffy, which I think it's not like they didn't lean too deep into like this is a bruised eye. It's like, I don't know.
They added little like cut marks on it. I was really impressed with the makeup people.
Yeah.
Jay Mohr is still at her apartment, and she comes back. She's like, I'm glad you're still here. He's like, don't you have a stake to put on this? Which is just such an old timey thing.
I don't even know. I waste a steak.
I have a question. Why? Is it just that it was cold?
I think.
Did they think the juices did something? You can't get raw steak juice in your eye, right?
I have a few hypotheses.
Okay.
All right. So I think one, people thought like the enzymes in steak did something. All right. I'm not saying it's valid or reasonable, but
I mean, this is the thing they were doing in the 30s. So like, I don't.
I mean, I think they knew about enzymes in the 30s.
I know, I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
Old people.
True.
Don't know stuff.
And then I think the other thing is like it's like malleable, so like it'll conform to like the contour of your cheek.
Yeah.
And maybe it was just, cheaper at a certain point.
And I mean, I will say, I don't think there was as much frozen food back then. So like a bag of peas didn't exist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is, I think, kind of your go-to now.
Yeah.
Which is what they do in the movie.
They do.
Jay Mohr is like, don't you have a steak? And this lean cuisine's not going to work.
That's kind of funny.
90s.
But he's nice, taking care of her, and he briefly ends up talking to her. Oh, so we skipped over this because I had mentioned it earlier, but when Jen's mom finds out that like her fiance is coming into town, and again, Jen hasn't told her, Mom, this is fake. I'm doing this for work. Jen's playing it like cool. The mom is so mad that she's not going to be able to meet him, and she's going to have to, quote, meet him next time or whatever. So Nick ends up talking to her on the phone, the mom. Yeah. And it's cute, it's just sweet.
Yeah. And I think this is another moment where Jen is supposed to be warming to him.
Right.
Because he's treating the mom so well.
Mm-hmm.
He's, but I love the end of the phone call. So Jay hangs up and we don't hear the mom's part, but we just hear Jen go, a diaphragm, a sponge, and a rubber. Goodbye. just a good joke.
It's a really good joke.
But yeah, he leaves because
that's it.
She's done with him. She doesn't want to date him.
Yeah.
There's no artificial
Macy Gray song plays.
Yeah, and then we immediately cut to Macy Gray.
Love it.
Love it. And she's wearing another backwards hat. So now we're entering into the final chunk of the movie, where she goes into work and finds out that they've got a shot at a Super Bowl commercial.
Woo-hoo.
I guess for mustard. I guess not a terrible time to advertise.
Yes.
Just want to note for
listeners. With the Super Bowl?
Advertise mustard specifically. Yeah, Super Bowl commercial. I don't know if that'll ever catch on. Just so the listeners know, we watched this movie that is about the Super Bowl, very kind of.
Yeah.
On Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, it was. We did not plan that either.
Yeah.
We're just like magically aligning between like Christmas and this and your birthday.
But Jen is also, she's been wearing her cool sunglasses again.
So cool.
But she takes them off and her boss sees that she has a black eye.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing her boss knew was that she and her fiance were having a huge fight at the restaurant. And he's like, we thought this guy was out of your life. Nobody here wants to see him again. You can't ever see him again. And Jen, who had been warming to Nick and warming to the idea of maybe I do just keep dating Nick, is now like, well, all right, I guess I have to dump him for my career.
Yeah, Nick wants to try for real.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, this was an agreement and like you're leaving, like no.
And she wants to try, but now can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like and there's a nice, we get a little montage again. She's drawing storyboards.
See, this is a good deployment of montage. I don't want to watch her draw storyboards. And like, I'm just comparing it to like the other movies we've watched recently where the montage is like the couple doing fun things together and you skip over like the interesting fun part of a relationship.
Yeah. And then we get what I would think is the most outrageous, unrealistic scene, which is it is now the day to present her ideas. And she's like, I can't present this idea today. And they're like, why not? She's like, she comes totally clean to her boss on the day of the presentation for her Super Bowl commercial. I just wrote in big letters, couldn't this have waited?
Yeah.
Because there's no ticking clock.
It's a big dumb speech.
I think they needed a ticking clock. Like Nick is going to, film Tibet. A wedding in Tibet. And, but there's not. She's just like, oh, I know this is the biggest day of my professional career. I'm going to come clean. She's like, talent. I thought that talent meant nothing unless it came in this package that everyone liked. And it's okay. It was not my favorite part of the movie. Her boss, Kevin Dunn, takes her aside and he's like, when I started, I lied about a lot of stuff. he's like, I lied on my resume. He's like, it's fine.
So, yeah. Oh, so Sam, Kevin Bacon, so he's listening to this whole thing and he confronts her. Did you make Nick up to be with me? And he's like taking this as way too much of a compliment.
I mean, what a sleaze.
He is such a sleaze. Ugh. Yeah.
But then Jen runs off to go find Nick, who is shooting a wedding.
In Boston. He's far away.
Yeah.
So she goes to Boston, and she just goes to the church where he happens to be during the ceremony.
Again, the whole end of this movie needed ticking clocks because she acts like a maniac otherwise. It's middle of ceremony. It's a very funny shot where like you see her standing like 6 inches behind him. And she's like tugging at his arm and he's like kind of busy. Because like bride and groom are up there already.
Yeah. And she like says that she's sorry and he's like, okay, bye.
Yeah. And they're having a little bit of a back and forth, and the priest says, "Speak now or forever hold your peace," and she yells no to Nick, but everybody in the chapel thinks that she's yelling no to them being married. There's a great bit where the bride is like, "Who is she?" And the guy's like, "I swear I've never seen her before." I thought it was funny.
So they like kind of apologize and like, again, this couple hired him to be their videographer.
This is so messed up.
So the whole audience is listening to them as like, the audience.
It's just a funny thing to call people at a wedding.
What else is it?
I wrote congregation, which is also not right.
I know. I was gonna say. All right. So all the guests are listening as they talk, and you're not like supposed to focus on them, but like you just see them in the background. That like the wedding will not go on until Nick and Kate finish their little love story.
Yeah, and they do, and then everybody claps.
Yeah, he does by inviting her to the wedding reception that he's going to be working at, and then everyone claps.
That's funny.
And then the real couple gets married, and then that's done.
I would have liked if the bride had been pissed.
I agree.
I think somebody should have been mad. It seems weird that everybody in the room is happy for these two strangers to get together. I was thinking, the movie ends just with them deciding to date.
Yes.
Which is a very low-stakes rom-com ending.
Yes.
You know, I like that. It's just like, oh yeah, we will go on some dates. There's no promise that they're going to get married.
They don't say I love you.
They don't say I love you.
Yeah.
They kiss, and it's like, yeah, you want to go on a date? Yeah, sure.
But doesn't it seem so incongruous with the like, dramaticness of Jen showing up at the wedding chapel?
Okay. So and then the end credits roll.
And the end credits roll. Here we go.
I have a $1 billion question for you.
Oh my God. Okay. Can I have $1 billion?
If you get it right.
Okay.
Why is this movie called Picture Perfect?
Because in the picture that she shows her bosses, her life looks perfect. Oh my God, Jacob. Do I get $1 billion? Oh my God.
You do.
Yes. Thank God. Student loans gone. Mortgage paid off.
Because I'm like
a billionaire. Watch out, Elon. I'm taking the U.S. government back.
I was just like, it's not like she's not like struggling for the picture perfect life. He's not a photographer. He's a videographer. I was trying to find, I was like, what the hell is the connection with the phrase picture? I guess I don't think of the like photograph as like.
Can I look on the internet for a sec here? Can you get to the internet?
Yeah.
I want to look, and can you show me the poster for this?
Yeah, it's weird actually. There's 2 posters. Both of them are weird. One makes more sense than the other. All right, so this is the one that is.
So look at all those pictures.
Yeah, I know. That's the VHS cover. This one's the other one. It's her standing under an umbrella with like rain coming down just on poster. Her. Mm-hmm. Does not sell this movie at all.
No.
But no, so I look at that and I see all those pictures, and they're not Polaroids, so I didn't connect them to the Polaroid.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think of the Polaroid as like a integral part of the movie, but it is. All right, well, that was I was so proud of this. I was like, why the hell is this called?
I mean, to be fair, I have done something extremely similar in Fools Rush In, where I'm like, why is this called Fools Rush In? And you're like, because they rushed into marriage.
Yeah.
I think that I think I saw this movie when I was, just walking around like Blockbuster or something. When did Blockbuster close?
I mean, long before this. I mean, long after this.
Right. I'm just thinking, like, I feel like I was watching Friends and I was in Blockbuster and I saw this movie and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll watch this. I think that was it. It could easily have been me being at the library. I don't really remember.
Yeah.
But I'm fairly certain I had watched this at some point.
I mean, streaming video did not take off until we're talking like 2011.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So
it's very definitely possible that I watched it in like 2001, 2002, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't remember this at all, but that's all.
Yeah.
All right, you want to get to our questions?
Let's get to our questions.
All right. Did this help or hurt Jen's career?
I think it helped.
I think on balance
it's a starring Jen role.
It is.
Finally.
Yes. And there is a lot of good in it. I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't say it's a great movie. I wouldn't necessarily recommend people see it, but like I can see how this can be beneficial to an actress who's still trying to build a movie career.
So just looking at everybody we've done so far, Matt LeBlanc had a movie built around him.
Yes.
Ed. Schwimmer has The Pall Bearer. Perry has Fools Rush In. Jen has this.
Mm-hmm. Would you say Lisa Kudrow had Romy Michelle? Because those are characters that she originated, isn't it?
Yes and no.
Mm.
It's not quite the same to me.
Okay.
All of those others, the poster is this friend star's head is like 99% of the poster.
Lisa Kudrow is on the poster.
I know she's on the poster, but she is part of a duo.
Right.
Like, Romy and Michelle are such a duo.
They are a duo.
That I have a hard time saying this is a movie that essentially only got made to leverage the Friends stardom.
Okay. All right.
The way that I think these other movies that we mentioned did.
Yeah. Courtney hasn't had that.
Courtney hasn't. I don't know if Courtney ever gets that. I think Courtney just wants to act more.
Yeah.
Just interesting.
I mean, I think on balance, it's a good decision for her.
Yeah.
I mean, so far, I think her film career has been the most like consistent. Because this is Jen's like first. I mean, maybe for me at least, it's her first like quote good movie. So
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, like the other ones are like. So we had.
The one's okay.
Yeah, so we had Leprechaun, not great, but she's good in it, right?
Yeah.
So we had oh my god, what's it called? Dream.
For an Insomniac.
Yes, so Dream from Insomniac, and she's a good part in a not great movie. She's the one, and then what did we just watch? Oh my god, with the They Don't Meet Till There Was You last week. And she's like, with the exception of She's the One, those were not enjoyable movies.
But with the exception of Till There Was You, and Till There Was You, she does the best she can.
Sure.
She is usually a highlight of whatever movie she's in.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely.
It's just interesting.
It is.
But yeah. So did the Friends cast see this movie?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think they all have gone and done a Friends thing. And yeah. Because I feel like at this point, when in season 3, it's expected that they show up together.
Yep.
Especially for like each other's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did the Friends characters see this movie?
I don't think maybe actually I would have maybe see Rachel
watching
this
feels like a very Rachel.
Yeah, because none of like Phoebe's not like a career gal, and neither Monica has like such a different career that it's like doesn't really relate.
Yeah.
I can't really see the guys being too interested in this. So yeah.
What does Gunther think?
I don't think Gunther likes this movie. I don't think Gunther likes lying. And I think that Gunther has been I think that he has probably been Nick before, where like people use him in some way and he wants more, but then they say no, and that's the end.
I like the idea that Gunther's like, never turns out right for the nice guy.
It's so true. Yes.
Yeah. Was there a role for Joey in the film?
This would have been a very big leap for Joey, but I can see him playing the Kevin Bacon role, maybe not as like elevated, like high status, marketing genius character, but maybe like a guy who she has a crush on in the office, who like is only sleeping with her because he's like got a thing for like breaking
the mailroom guy.
Yes. Oh my god, yes. And yes. I love it.
I love it.
Love it.
Who from this movie would you like to see on Friends? I think Ileana Douglas would have made an interesting Chandler girlfriend.
Sorry, which one's that?
The quirky best friend.
Oh, okay.
Who all the friends hate just because she and Chandler are both so in sync with their style of humor that it's like having two Chandlers.
Oh my
and they
God.
just can't stand it. But even though the relationship is so good, they decide to try and break it up.
I love that. That's a great pitch.
Thank you.
Well done. Okay, let me think more too. I'm going to put Kevin Bacon in an episode. I'm going to put him as a guy that Monica and Chandler interview to officiate their wedding. And they ask him for like a sample speech or something like that, and he starts crying when he gives the sample speech. So he's like getting really, really emotional and really into it, and like I don't know what their reactions are. I'm still working that out. Maybe like Chandler is also extremely like affected by this and like really wants this guy to officiate the wedding. And Monica is just like extremely like turned off and like doesn't want anything. But this is like the only thing that Chandler wants out of anything in the wedding. All right. So that's like the first like semi pitch. The other bit of the pitch is like they both don't like him. The other option, they both don't like him as an officiant. But they're like, oh, well, we have, either 3 other interviews throughout the day. It's him each time with different personas because he's like, well, that's my persona for the serious couple. This is my persona for the fun couple.
I could so see that in like a late season Friends.
Right?
Yeah.
It just keeps, and like, he's not trying to like pretend he's a different person. He's just like, no. But that's like for a different couple. Like I can be whoever you need me. I
love it.
Thank
That's great.
you.
So that's Friends on Friends season 3.
Yeah. I was going to say, typically we do like a retrospective of all of our movies in the last movie episode, but let's push that till next time because we've gone pretty long.
Yeah.
It'll give us a little more time to digest and remember the beginning because we started with Mother, which is like a long time ago.
Yeah, it's we're getting a lot of movies this season. We're getting a lot of movies next season.
Yeah.
And it'll putter out a little bit.
That's okay.
Yeah. But thank you so much for listening.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you in 2 weeks with our season 4 Friends recap and look ahead at the movies of that season and a look behind at the movies of this season. And it'll be a lot of fun.
Bye.